Welcome to ZekeTalk. This is our final show for the month of August, if I'm not mistaken. My name is Jim Tudor, and I am with ZekeFilm.org. That's a website that you, our fine viewer/listener, can go visit. We have all our shows there and on our YouTube channel. So you can go there and check out what we've been up to. We've been doing this for a few months now. With me tonight, as usual, is Michael Anderson.
Michael Anderson, yes, filmmaker and accordionist, and I think you were wrong. I think we have one more show this month. We have one on the 31st.
We do?
Yes, you forget that August has that extra day.
Okay, well, this show is going to be so good that it'll be like, you know, that night's show's goodness as well.
It'll be so good that it will overshadow the rest of the shows for the entire month.
Yeah, but tune in for that anyway.
Yes, yes. Who knows what we'll do then? And with us here as our special guest is Laura Farrell, our good friend.
Hello, I'm Laura. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's great to have you here. In our revolving door of guests.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
Welcome here. Tonight we have you here, Laura, to discuss some horror-centric shows and films. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, so I guess it's a little early for horror, but, you know, I was getting geared up for fall, so.
Some people, it's never too early for horror.
Yeah.
It's a all-year-round thing.
Every day is horror day.
Every day is horror day. Are you one of those people?
You know, I can get in the mood for it at any time, but I definitely get more in the mood for it when the sun starts setting earlier and we change our clocks.
How about when the sun disappears completely?
You know, surely there are some horror movies that relate to an eclipse. Well, I guess Little Shop of Horrors.
Which I just watched this week.
Did you watch the director's cut or the original ending?
Well, I suppose it had to be the original ending because my DVD is really old. It's not the first pressing, which has the original ending included, I think, as an extra or something. I'm not sure, but then they had to take that off, and that instantly became collectible back circa 1998, I think. And then they came back with the version that I purchased. Again, probably 99, 2000, around then. So I've owned this disc for a very long time. Is the original ending the stage ending?
Yes, it's adapted from the stage ending. They came out with a Blu-ray a couple of years back, which has the original ending in full color. That's the big thing. The original ending, when they first came out on DVD, they only had a black and white work print. But in the new Blu-ray, they are able to use the color version, and you can watch it seamlessly. You can choose either ending. Actually, having seen them both now, I have to say that I enjoy the ending that they went back and reshot. The one where everyone dies, it just didn't work for me.
No? You see, that's the Faustian, you know, ending. The plant takes over the world, everyone dies. It's very Shakespearean and melodramatic. This week, as I sat there and watched the movie in its theatrical version, I thought, you know, I love this movie. I love the whole Little Shop of Horrors thing. The fact that a lavish off-Broadway stage show stemmed from a Roger Corman film that was shot in 2 days, 30 years earlier or whatever.
So when you guys are talking about the DVD of the movie, are you talking about, was there an original movie? I don't even know, because the only one I've seen is the Steve Martin one.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay. So I've seen what you're talking about, but I haven't seen both endings.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This gets a little murky, so stay with us. A Little Shop of Horrors was originally filmed by, Roger Corman as a 2-day movie, really, really, really cheap. Like bad acting, non-actors. Jack Nicholson walks in for like 10 seconds. He's in the role that Bill Murray actually plays as the dental patient who loves pain. And So that's Jack Nicholson's part. This is pre-fame Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in that version. So anyway, there was that movie, and it came out, and nobody cared, and there was a really, really, really bad, really cheap, goofball horror film, this novelty thing. And then in, I guess around 1982, the guys that wound up doing the songs for the Disney's Beauty and the Beast, before they did that, they adapted this forgotten Corman film into a stage musical.
Yes,
and they
Menken and Asher.
Menken and Asher, yeah, they made it darker, and like Mike and I are saying, this kind of Shakespearean ending where at the end everyone dies and the singing plant does indeed take over the earth.
Wait, so what were these composers? What were they well known for?
They went on to be sort of the go-to Disney composers. They did Beauty and the Beast. They did The Little Mermaid.
So they had a really wacky sense of humor, and for some reason worked on this obscure horror movie.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then Ashman died. He died before Beauty and the Beast even came out, I think.
Yeah.
But Menken is still around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Menken is still around. Recently, he did the Gallivant television series. For the 3 people who watched it with us.
I'm not one of those 3 people.
Sorry. So anyhow, yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. When the time came to make it into a feature film, they adapt the musical into a feature film. They got Frank Oz of Muppets fame, who had some experience with puppets and all of this, but was trying to branch out as a feature film director in his own right at the time. They got him to come in and direct it, and whatever reason I don't remember, the ending changed to the happiness, the love conquers all ending of Little Shop of Horrors.
Well, what happened was they did test screenings, and everyone hated the ending.
Of course,
because everyone dies, and Frank Oz postulates that it's because that when
you're breaking up.
Film.
Wait. You're glitching.
Okay. All right.
What was that?
Try it again.
That was not part of the show.
I think it was.
There, yes, but
all right,
no.
Go again.
No, they did test screenings and everyone hated it. Frank Oz thinks it's because when you're looking at a stage show, you're sort of removed, but when you're seeing it on feature film, you get to see Rick Moranis up close and personal, and you think, oh, that poor guy. And then to see him die at the end, to sacrifice himself and to actually sacrifice Audrey. People don't realize that, he sacrifices Audrey at the end and has to give it to the plant for the plant to eat up.
Right. Well, she tells him to.
Yes.
She's already been attacked by the plant and is mortally wounded, and she's in his arms, and she says, "It's over for me. Feed me to the plant. It's okay. It's okay. I want you to be happy." And the plant is, of course, offered Seymour the world, and she wants him to be happy. She wants him to have that.
So you think that? So, Michael, you think that it's easier for people to see people die on stage than on film because you connect with them more on film, since
that's Frank Oz's theory that you connect with them there, and whereas on stage you're seeing it from a distance, it's sort of on an ironic distance, and you'll take again, be able to take it a little bit better. Also, I think it's Sondheim says that when you're having a stage show, everyone dies at the end, but then everyone comes up for a curtain call and takes a bow, and everyone, no, it's really just a play. But when you're seeing it on film, the dead are dead.
That's true. You know that the actors are alive on stage because they're actually literally alive in front of you.
Right.
It's like blam blam, everyone's dead. Cut to black. Boom. Yeah, have a nice life.
Right.
Everyone's dead.
Well, I got to fish out my old DVD on Monday after the total eclipse of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Came home, kept our kids out of school so that we could go check out the eclipse in its most longest totality we could, reasonably drive to.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
With 4 children in
tow. A pilgrimage.
Yeah. So we went about 40 minutes from where we are in St. Louis.
Mhm.
We got a pretty good spot, and had 2+ minutes of eclipse, and then came home, and I said, what we're gonna do? We're gonna watch Little Shop of Horrors now. This is gonna blow your mind, and it's been wonderful. They've asked to relive certain songs via YouTube. We've watched some staged performances of those songs. My daughter, who's 4th grade, she loves to belt out "Suddenly Seymour," the song.
Oh yeah, it's very catchy.
So yeah, so it's been fun. It's been wonderful. So, and had it been the original stage ending where they all die, I don't know that the movie would have gone over with the children. So we've got that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a perk. Some of the kids would have dug the mass death. Others would have been disturbed.
But you can show the kids the mass death that would be into it.
Right. I just told them that that's a different version. So, yeah. Okay. So anyhow, how'd you guys spend the total eclipse?
I watched it. Yeah, I went outside. I got my glasses in June, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and took selfies when it was, at totality, and they're very purplish, bluish looking because it got dark. So it was fantastic.
Where are you? Can I ask?
I'm near Kansas City.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Mike, you as well.
Yes.
How was that? How much totality time?
No, about the same. It was a couple minutes. It was cool.
Yeah.
We went out. We didn't get our glasses. we waited to the last minute, and it was too late. So
right.
About that, everything got dark, and it was cool. So
yeah,
I'm kind of surprised you weren't like right on top of this. I guess my wife ordered glasses for our whole family back in June. I thought she was nuts. And then they show up as these cardboard piece of junk, it's this.
They were great.
I know. And then it turns out they're like, the week before the eclipse, these things are gold.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, I guess I'm really glad she did that.
Yeah.
I heard someone that paid $20 for one pair, and I paid $12 for 12 pairs.
That's great.
Yeah, I saw the total eclipse of the moon back in the late '80s, so I'm good.
Oh, whatever. Did you at least, Mike? Did you make a shoebox viewer?
I made a pinhole thing, even though I had the glasses. I just wanted to see how it would work.
All right.
Yeah.
So what did you guys go inside after the eclipse and watch any particular horror, musical, comedy, puppet-centric films?
I haven't watched anything eclipse related, and that was so recent. I don't know if I've watched a movie since then, since it was just a few days ago. It's usually on the weekends when I get a good movie in. And also, we were going to talk about horror movies, and I am very, I like horror movies, but I'm very susceptible. So if I watch one on a weeknight, I won't be able to sleep. So I have to watch them on the weekends.
Very susceptible, she says. Okay.
They really scare me, and then I can't fall asleep later. So sometimes I have to watch 20 minutes of something funny afterwards.
Yeah, that's understandable. I've been through some pretty solid horror movie phases in my time as a film buff. I have to say, since we started Zeke Film, there have been some film buffs involved with this endeavor that far have outweighed me in their horror film, fandom. So I've kind of taken a step back.
Oh yeah.
Last 5 years, maybe. I still enjoy a good horror film when they come around, but I don't seek them out like I had previously.
Yeah.
I used to watch everything. I would watch those Hostel movies. I would watch all that nonsense.
What are those? I don't know what those are.
Hostel?
Yeah.
That's like, the torture horror films of like the mid 2000s.
Oh, okay.
It was like, Saw and those sorts of things. And, not so much now. I'm not. I don't need that in my life.
You've got 4 kids. You don't
want
that.
them walking in on Saw.
No, absolutely not. And the Rob Zombie films I found intriguing up to a point. I went and saw not the last one because nobody saw the last one, but the one before that, the witchcraft film. I can't remember what it's even called. Starring, of course, his wife. So that was a weird movie.
I like witch films, so maybe I'll check that out. I don't really like Saw and torture and that kind of thing.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's the thing about horror is that it is for something a specific genre of horror. There is a very wide variety of different things that are considered horror.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
So what are your guys' favorites? What are the sort of subgenres that you gravitate towards?
Well, I like a horror movie that has story. So to be honest, the one that did keep me up all night was The Ring. And I'm trying to think. I mean, sometimes I'll take them out if they're too gory. I don't like seeing people's arms sawed off, but I do like a story where people. And I also don't like it when they're being super stupid, even though that can be funny.
I enjoy a horror film that kind of, engages me. I enjoy schlocky horror films too. I should just put that out there. There was an article that was making its way around the web in the last few months about how people that watch trash movies are smarter people. It was like,
that was written by someone that loves trash movies.
I know, yeah, obviously. But
I wrote a follow-up article to that where people who like schlocky movies are actually sexier as well. So,
yay! So no, I thought, okay, well now I'm just going to go ahead and review whatever goofy schlocky stuff is offered to us at Zeke Film. I just posted a review of a film by this is getting a little into the horror weeds, but Jess Franco. Do you know who that is?
I don't think I know who Jess Franco is.
Do you know who that is, Mike?
I have no idea, but I hope you will tell us, please.
Spanish filmmaker that made over 100 films, and most of them are not very good, but of varying quality and repugnancy. And being somebody that's collected a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays over the years, I would look at what's coming out in advance sheets and things like that. And there are always these, Jess Franco's this, Jess Franco's, whatever. And it's like, what, there's so many of these movies, and apparently, there's a devoted following somewhere for these that they keep coming out with them, making sure they're available whenever there's a new video format to be exploited. So on Zeke Film, we've been offered a handful of these things. I went ahead and took them because I was curious. And the one I reviewed this week is from 1996. It's later in his career, and it's called Killer Barbies. Yeah, and what it is, there's a band. I presume a Spanish punk band, maybe. It's definitely not American. Punk band called The Killer Barbies. Barbie, like B-A-B, like the doll.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
I-E-S, yes. And, the movie, though, is titled Killer Barbies, B-A-R-B-Y-S. They had to spell it differently because Mattel, maker of the Barbie doll, piped up and said, okay, you're making an exploitation movie with gore and sex and who knows what. We're drawing the line.
So they can do that and it can't be seen as parody or whatever, I guess?
I don't think this was parody. This is just this movie. It's like, I don't know, in my review I say, hey, it's the Beatles in Hard Day's Night, the Ramones in Rock and Roll High School, the Killer Barbies in Killer Barbies. That's your degenerating timeline of rock bands starring in films. It's basically a Scooby-Doo situation where their van breaks down and they have to go to the old haunted house. And the old haunted house, the master of the haunted house is this countess who is a skeleton. and what she really needs is blood. This is the Lady Batheroy angle. So they have to kill people and then give her the skeleton the blood. And of course she wakes up this nymphomaniac silicone enhanced evil diva, and she's running around killing members of the band. Both there's male and female killer Barbies.
Okay.
And
so
anyway,
I was saying, this reminds me. I think they stole this from Scooby Doo, the episode with Sonny and Cher.
Some things happen in this movie that I'm sure did not happen in the Sonny and Cher episode of Scooby Doo, but yes, there were many recognizable aspects going on here. And again, not a good film, but I'll tell you something. It was interesting because you take a look at this thing and they're like, well, this looks like a 16mm movie shot in a Gothic castle, lots of candles, lots of torches, glowing of candles everywhere, very spooky. This was made in 1996. You would just swear this was made in 1972 or whatever, or something, immediately post Hammer Films Gothic horror, and which is what Jess Franco actually did. Some of. And here he's like getting back to these Gothic horror roots in this post-Pulp Fiction era. Completely non-ironically. It's just, this is another sexy vampire movie, but with a punk band. So
it sounds like it was kind of good.
It's not. It's but I have to say it's the first Jess Franco film that I found not to be a boring waste of time. I did have fun with it in this kind of schlock way, and it's because I'm smart.
Going back to the original schlock smart correlation.
That's right. So what have you watched?
Me in the last couple of weeks, I watched a movie called The House on Willow Street, and then another horror movie, and so that was about demonic possession. It's some people kidnap a woman who turns out to be demonically possessed, so I guess the joke was on the kidnappers. And then another movie called Demonic. No, I'm getting the plots reversed, I think. Okay, Demonic was the one where they kidnap a woman who turns out to be demonically possessed. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so Demonic has a woman who's demonically possessed, gets kidnapped, and then the kidnappers that realize they kidnapped a bad.
I think you had it the right way around the first time.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're here.
No, because I did watch Demonic as well. So.
Mike, what did you think, Mike?
Demonic is.
You're talking about the actual Demonic now. I got the plot wrong, I think.
Yes, the actual Demonic, which is about a group of paranormal investigators.
That's right.
Who go to a house.
The site of a mass murder from 20 years ago or whatever.
20 years ago. And it turns out one of the filmmakers, his mother was actually the center of the original murder. And he was drawn back psychically.
Wasn't she the lone survivor of the mass murder?
Yeah, she was the lone survivor, yeah.
But he didn't tell anyone that.
Of course not, no.
Yeah. And they go back to the site of the mass murderer to have a seance and do paranormal investigation. And of course, they bring lots of cameras and things like that.
Lots of cameras and people die.
Yes, and so the film is told sort of in flashbacks because I think that they begin sort of at the ending, and then they have these like police investigators interviewing like the people that ran screaming from the house.
Yeah, so it's sort of pseudo found footage, which is good. Found footage was one of the the big horror subgenres the past couple of years, and to me, it's like watching paint dry. It's like, oh, we're watching the same thing.
Yeah, it was sort of a part Blair Witch Project, part NCIS police investigation, part kind of the horror demonic thing. I mean, I actually thought compared to the House on Willow Street kidnapping movie, I actually thought Demonic was kind of good. Have you seen House on Willow Street?
I watched a little of it.
Okay. House on Willow Street is the kidnapping one. I was getting confused. So they kidnap this woman who's rich and supposedly her parents have these diamonds. And then the kidnappers figure out that she's demonically possessed. So and realize that they
right.
want to get away from her.
So I'm going to ask this.
Okay.
You both have watched these films. I assume they're available on some very common streaming service of some sort.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Netflix.
Yes.
Okay, so they're
And
on
possibly other ones as well.
What was it that brought these particular? Are they films or TV series? They're films.
Films.
Okay, what brought these films to your attention? Why these films now?
I was looking for some horror, but I didn't want like gore horror, chopping people up. And so when I saw demonic possession, I was like, hey, I'll try that. And I think based on the little short write-up and the thing, it looked like it might have, like, I liked the kidnapping and then the person's demonically possessed idea. So that sounded intriguing, and I wanted to see where they went with it. And I'm trying to think if there's any other possession movies. I kind of liked that one, The Skeleton Key, that came out years ago. I thought that was a good possession movie, and so I was kind of hoping, to get something like that.
Yeah.
So this is just a total crapshoot. You're not going in going, okay, you're not looking at this as like, well, I like the filmmaker, so let's see about this new film. Or are they new films?
Well, that's the thing. That they're reasonably new films, but that's the great thing about Netflix is, that you just sit down and it's like, what am I in the mood for? Oh, it's like browsing the video stores back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's the same, the same paltry selection that you can get. And
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I don't know of too many horror directors, so I was just browsing Netflix and seeing what was on. And it's a good thing to do when you don't feel like spending money, I suppose. That sounds like a poor reason behind my choice. Some of the horror films that I've liked that were by reputable directors, like Mama, there were things I liked about that, but then I didn't really like the ending. So, I sort of feel like it's a crapshoot anyway, even if you know the good things about the director.
Sounds like they needed Frank Oz to come in and film a new, more agreeable ending.
Well, so, are you talking about Mama? Did you see Mama?
No.
Okay.
That was that Jessica Chastain film. Is that right?
Michael, did you see it?
I did not see it.
Hasn't this come up? I think we talked about this on the show last week. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Did you? Oh, that's okay. We don't have to get into Mama that much.
No.
It started off great, and these girls get lost, like stuck in the woods for various reasons, and then they're raised by this crazy witch spirit thing. And it started to have a great backstory and a great story, and then I just didn't. I mean, you have to see it. I just thought the ending just got sort of silly. So what I'm saying is that if you just grab some random movie on Netflix, it's likely to be as good as something else that has a good reputation.
Huh. If you say so.
It sounds like you just agreed.
Well, Jim runs a film review site, so.
What's your strategy for finding a horror movie to watch?
These days, it's whatever we're offered to review that they'll mail to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah.
No, and also what's in theaters, but there's other factors. But no, that honestly, there's no way on earth I would have ever watched the movie Killer Barbies had they not sent it to me.
Oh, they actually sent that to you. Okay, that's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Blu-ray's over there. I could go get it if you really want to see the cover, but or just go to the website and it's there.
Okay.
Well, Michael,
Yeah.
what did you like and not like about the movie Demonic?
Well, Demonic, the things that I didn't like it are the same sort of things that sort of annoy me about horror movies these days.
Okay.
Which is, there's a sort of sameness to them. It's like every now and then there'll be like a new game changer. Like found footage was one, torture porn was one. Suddenly, it's like everyone has to jump on the same bandwagon. And this was one of those that, it's like all the horror movies have the desaturated, grainy look, and this was a step up from the general found footage thing, but. It has the completely arbitrary twist ending near the end that really makes no sense looking back on everything. But yeah, it's in that way, it just it was all right, but it was sort of generic. And I tend to like the horror movies that try to take do something new or different with it, or try to do something thematic. I think the best horror movie that I've seen in the past couple of years has been the Babadook.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
That's an excellent one, and it's you can look at that and you can view it on many different levels. Whereas I feel that a lot of horror movies are just it's like they're setting up people so that they can be killed in many different scary ways.
Yeah.
Whereas there are different horror movies where they try to do something a little bit more with that, or at least try to infuse it with it. I mean, the genre that I most reliably like, or the subgenre of horror, is the horror comedy.
Oh, okay.
Which things like Evil Dead 2, Dead Alive, really Peter Jackson. It's like if you can put a little comedy in it, if you can lighten it up. Let's see, the Bruce Campbell, Bubba Hotep.
Okay.
Elvis versus an evil monk.
I have a tremendous respect for Bubba Hotep. Actually, I put that movie on my top 10 list of that decade when I made the 2000 through 2010. I think it was top 10 or 2009. Anyway, it was that 10-year list. Would have been through 2009. Bubba Hotep, I went ahead and put on the list because I think it is one of the best films about aging ever made, as absurd as it is. So, these even this, kind of a movie like that I think is clearly created out of the desire to maybe be a cult classic out of the gate, a manufactured cult classic. Can have this value, I mean, it really is a great movie. And Bruce Campbell, I don't think has ever been better.
No, that's one of the few times where you look up at the Bruce Campbell performance and you think he can actually act. It's like, I mean, Bruce Campbell, of course, I mean, is always entertaining, but that's one of the few times that you look up there and it's like, wow, he doesn't get a chance to actually act.
No, he's embraced his persona. More power to him. He's got a new book out, by the way. He just came through St. Louis with his book tour for his third book, and it cost $35 to see him.
Wow.
Yeah, I went and did that a few years ago. Probably 10 or 12 years ago. I went and saw him when he came through with his last book. I didn't get the book, but I did see the movie that he directed for the Sci-Fi Channel, and he did a live appearance with Q&A, and it was a hoot. That guy's funny.
Yes. If you can ever see Bruce Campbell in person, go do it, even if it costs $35. I saw him for free when his second book came out, Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way.
Yeah. I just acquired a copy of that, by the way, much to my kids' horror. my daughter, my fourth grade daughter, I have two daughters, but the older one, she saw my stack of books and she said, "Daddy, I'm going to," they were all lined up on the bookshelf, and the bookshelf was deep, so she could do this. She goes, "I'm going to just push the ones that I don't want you to read deep into the bookshelf." So she went through and goodbye, Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. I don't know what to say about that, but
what does he talk about in the book? I trust it's not actual lovemaking.
No, it is not.
I haven't read it yet.
It's actually a novel. That it is fiction, but Bruce Campbell is the main character of it, and it is a fictionalized story about how Bruce Campbell gets cast in an A picture for some reason. Like there's a mix-up with the casting director, and he ends up the star of a big A production, and everything starts to go wrong, and things only start to go right when people start taking Bruce Campbell's advice, and and sort of make it a little bit more schlocky. Is like, yeah, you're this leading lady, Shakespearean trained. Yeah, well, we'll get someone with big bazingas. That's what you need.
So it's phony baloney.
Yes.
This book. I think the new book is more like the first book.
Yes, phony baloney, or as we in the library business like to call it, fiction.
In the library business. Some people outside of the library business call it fiction too.
Does the Dewey Decimal System have an allocation for phony baloney?
Probably.
No, but I think they do have one in the Library of Congress. But
they offer more categories than that.
Somewhere in the deep 900s.
Let's all go to our local public library catalog and type in phony baloney and see what we find.
Make love the Bruce Campbell way.
That's what comes up, yeah.
That comes right up. That and killer Barbies.
Well, so Michael, I haven't seen the Babadook, but what did you like about it?
Oh, the Babadook! It was imaginative. It really, in many ways, it's an allegory about depression.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a singularly really terrifying monster.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about horror movies, the ones that I tend to like the best are the ones that have the monsters.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the guy in the mask, cutting down the horny teenagers. I like the ones where the Frankensteins, the Wolfman, even the Draculas, and the Babadook is just he's scary.
So is it the tension and buildup that's scary, or is the actual monster as scary?
No, they're both.
Okay.
Where do you stand on Freddy Krueger then? He's a bona fide demonic monster, but he also cuts down horny teenagers.
Oh, I actually liked him better. Wes Craven is on file saying that he didn't like him as the series went on because it became the shaky green of horror monsters. So I'm sort of the opposite thing. The more schlocky he got, the more I enjoyed him. And I think that goes back to the horror comedy thing. That in the first one where he's ostensibly scary, it's like I can take or leave him, but when he's there giving the one-liners, it's like you can check in, but you can't check out.
Yeah. So you'll be happy to hear that on the Zeke Film site you can find a review of Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, part of our prestigious 52 Films by Women series.
Prestigious.
Yes, directed. Lots of other 52 films by women there, directed by females. That Freddy film is the only one. I pushed our contributor who is doing this 52 films exercise. I was like, you have to include this Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. And it's for my money the worst of the bunch. Not because it was directed by a woman, but just because this was when the thing ran really out of steam.
Yeah, by the time you get into that many sequels or whatever, yeah. Well, so Michael, did you see It Follows, and what did you think of it? Because I thought it was funny.
I haven't seen It Follows yet.
Okay. I think it could fall into the horny teenagers horror category.
Well, it has to. It's contingent on that.
Yes. Yeah, that sums it up.
And that's the same thing with Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, I actually loved that movie.
Well,
I don't think of it as a horror movie.
It's not. It is, and then it isn't. It's great. I don't find myself wanting to go back to it all that often, though.
It's worth talking about.
Yeah.
If you're a board game fan, that movie is also hilarious.
If you're a board game fan?
Interesting.
Okay. Do we want to hear more about that?
Well, the movie was a board game, wasn't it? Isn't that was the whole premise?
Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I thought the premise was a cabin in the woods. They go there, and then evil things abound. Evil things are afoot, and it turns out that the evil things are the result of this, top secret, high tech government operation that is, monitoring this sort of thing. It's a commentary on cinema and voyeurism and all of that.
Well, I kind of saw it as like the guys, the supposed top secret government guys, were actually, that is sort of the position you're in when you're playing a board game. So here you have these pawns and you have certain scenarios you can inflict on them. And with a roll of the dice or whatever choice that they make, your little meeple make early on in the game, that determines where the game is going to go after that. And so then they get hit with this onslaught of zombies or whatever else it is that happens after that.
Okay. I can track that. It Follows. We'll go back to It Follows if you don't mind.
Sure.
That I thought was terrific.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Really well done. It has a very creepy vibe and a really unique soundtrack. I remember the soundtrack just being, making a very profound impression. And if I'm not mistaken, the film's like in Detroit, and they drive around. Is that right? Am I thinking of the wrong movie?
You're thinking of the right movie, and that's the funny thing about it is it does seem like it's in Detroit, and yet you also sort of don't quite know. It's hard to place things in that film.
I have to say, I'm probably thinking of Jim Jarmusch's vampire film, Only Lovers Left Alive. That's in Detroit, and they drive around there in that movie as well.
Well, they go into some really urban settings, and It Follows when they're trying to track down that first guy when she's trying to find his real identity, and then they end up in those abandoned houses. But then they also are by a lake, and it's very much like, what time of year is this? Is it fall? Is it summer? They are kind of I felt like the filmmakers were intentionally vague with that.
Right. No, it was, but to its strength. The premise of the film is that there is an evil entity that can only be passed through, sex. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, to get rid of it, that's how you get rid of it. So,
and it won't go away, and it will kill you, and it will kill you soon.
It will follow. Yes, it will follow you until you can pawn it off on somebody else. And they raise the whole thing. We'll just find a bum, find someone no one will miss, and seduce that person, and then we're done. It's a more complex movie than that, and it does this thing that I enjoy from horror movies, which is really put a spin on a familiar moral question. Good horror does that. I know The Babadook, I think, does that. Which I haven't seen, by the way. I need to.
No. It's on Netflix.
I know it is. So yeah, but anyway, that's It Follows. I definitely did. I know I've seen some other handful of other horrors since then, but It Follows was one of the better ones of recent years that I can recall off the top of my head. So
okay.
Yeah. And I also thought that it was funny. I mean, if they entered into any areas of like using typical tropes in horror movies, they did it to be really funny. So there were these moments where they're like, "Don't open the door," and of course the person like opens the door, and then there's this horrible thing. But they do that very well in a way that kind of puts you on the edge of your seat. So
yeah, no, it's fantastic. So that one was good. That Under the Skin was an odd movie from a few years ago. I don't know if we call that horror or not. Kind of that horror sci-fi cerebral.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's Scarlett Johansson, and it has more stylistically in common with, say, David Bowie's "The Man Who Fell to Earth," which was from the 1970s. It really has that kind of vibe, which is kind of a like the nightmare that sticks to the inside of your head vibe, that there's something just off here, and it's off in such a way that it's more kind of disturbing, and that's how Man Who Fell to Earth plays, where Bowie is the alien, and a very strange film. Nicholas Roeg made it. It's edited in a very odd stream of conscious, almost, but with a very sure hand. And Under the Skin isn't that good, but it's definitely something. And Scarlett Johansson she just drives around England in this van looking for humans. She's taken the form of this young woman, Scarlett Johansson, and she just rides around, looking for victims, I suppose. I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Okay.
Has a very otherworldly quality, though, when she seduces these guys.
I would like to see that. I like her, and I didn't know that she'd done a horror movie.
Well, if you're a fan of hers, this one I would think is that it's an essential in that sense, because it's off the grid of her usual mainstream fare. That's for sure.
That sounds very interesting. I'll have to look that up.
Very art housey. Under the Skin, yeah. From I want to say a few years ago, and again, there's a review on the Zeke site from back when it came out. At ZekeFilm.org, so I always have to plug the site. Yeah. Anyway, shall we wrap it up?
Sure.
Well, okay then. Before we wrap it up, I always like to ask, aside from our main topic, what is there anything else that is of interest to you that you have read, that you've listened to, that you've seen, that you've even been working on this week? Mike, why don't you go first? Okay, well, I'll go ahead on this because this came up earlier in the week when I was eating lunch with Laura. It's a TV series called The Grinder, which not too many people watched back in the day. It's from 2015 to 2016. It stars Rob Lowe and Fred Savage. Rob Lowe stars as the Grinder, who for 8 seasons he was a top flight lawyer on TV. But now the show's over, and he's going back home to Idaho, where the rest of his family, his father and his brother, are both lawyers. And he's feeling left out and sort of rudderless. And he gets the idea that because he played a lawyer on television, that he can be a great lawyer too.
Without going to school or anything like that.
He hasn't gone to school or anything like that. He just goes in and he does all his TV lawyer things. And everyone in Idaho is just so starstruck by him that they just go along with it. And it drives his brother crazy. And it is just hilarious, especially later on. You think that, this might run out of steam. And maybe if it had gone to 8 seasons, it would have. But for 1 season, there are all sorts of, hilarious different, things that they go into. It gets very meta in certain respects. Like if you get into episode 2, it starts off with them watching episode 2 of the Grinder television show and discussing about how episode 2s are always problematic. And this goes into a big discussion about, the difficulties of episode 2 in episode 2 of the Grinder. So.
Yeah, it is funny that the show is called The Grinder, and so is the show that Rob Lowe was in.
Wow. So where and when was this show, and where can you see it?
This was on Fox from 2015 to 2016. It is now on Netflix. You can get it. And I was just reading an interview with Fred Savage and another one with Rob Lowe, and they are both adamant that they want to bring it back at some point, possibly as a special movie. And they said they're talking to people, so.
Yes, The Grinder, Fire Walk With Me.
The Grinder. So we have to get people to watch it so that Netflix will say, I think we want to finance this Grinder TV movie that they're talking so much about. So.
Well, you've made me want to watch it.
Okay. Well, that was the point.
It's the first thing we talked about tonight that you people have made me want to watch. No, I'm kidding. No, that's not the point of this show. Yeah, Laura, what do you got?
Well, that actually ties into my recommendation because I liked the series Friends from College, actually, and I was surprised that I liked it. And it also stars Fred Savage, and it is a group of friends that went to college together 20 or 30 years ago, and now they all, just by coincidence or whatever, end up living in New York City. But a very large part of the plot is that two of them are having extramarital affairs with each other, and it is actually a huge explosive secret. And normally I don't like that plot line, but the show manages to have a lot of drama and also be very, very funny at the same time.
Cool.
So yeah, and Fred Savage is hilarious in it.
Him again, that Fred Savage kid.
That's Fred Savage, yes. He was away from our screens for too long.
I know, he really was. He ripened to a perfect vintage.
And where is this show?
You can also find it on Netflix, and that I actually heard of Friends from College because Netflix recommended it to me or whatever, and then I did happen to run into Michael earlier this week and was telling him about it, and he was like, well, if you like Fred Savage, The Grinder.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've also watched The Grinder, and it is very funny.
You're just getting algorithm by everybody.
That's right. Yeah, although you have to watch out. Netflix will recommend just anything to you. You have to watch out for that.
It will. It does not get my taste at all. It's not even getting their algorithm is not based on anything. It's based on sales dollars from publishers or something.
Well, I haven't messed with the Netflix streaming in a while, other than watching Glow when my wife was watching it.
That was a good show.
Yeah,
Great
so
show,
that was it. But back several years ago when we first got it, I went through and like star rated like 500 movies and TV shows and things. And so it did a pretty good job for a while recommending things. But I've heard that they've ditched the star ratings in favor of a thumbs up, thumbs down or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yes, they did that a couple months back, yes, and the recommendations have not been as good since then.
Well, how could they be? I mean, it's all nuance is gone.
Well, I don't get thumbs up, thumbs down in my version of Netflix on my streaming TV. I still see the stars.
Yeah, I see stars too, I guess. With Glow, I thought I saw stars, but there were no stars in that. What am I saying? Mark Maron, he's a nobody.
But Fred Savage, he's a star.
That Fred Savage kid, get him in here. Yeah. The star of The Wizard. Well, did he bring the glove? That's all I want to know. The Nintendo Power Glove.
He didn't bring it this time, but it's never far away.
Yeah. That's for season 2.
Yeah.
The Grinder.
So that's for the big movie. So yes, watch it so we can bring the glove back.
Well, I will let you guys know what I've been doing. I'm right on the cutting edge of things. I have decided to go down the Twin Peaks rabbit hole.
Okay.
Yeah, the original, not the current Showtime Twin Peaks: The Return, which I have no access to.
I take it you're revisiting the original Twin Peaks.
Yes, in a sense. When it aired originally, it was 1990-91, of course, and I was in high school. And, being the, precocious know-it-all high school drama guy that I was, getting into Monty Python and absurdism and all this sort of thing at the time, I thought, I watched the pilot of Twin Peaks and was riveted. I honestly thought that was just amazing television. And then I think I probably missed several episodes just for busy schedules and who knows why. And I turned it on and I watched another one. And again, I was riveted, but I had no clue what was going on. More so than the people who'd been watching. And so okay. And then I missed a few more, and then I watched another one, and I just decided, you know what? This show is so wacky and weird, and it doesn't matter if I miss any. I'm going to miss episodes on purpose just to make it all the weirder, man. So I was really shortchanging the whole series by kind of inflicting my own rules onto it, my own self-made notions of whatever. So watching it now, I'm watching it properly. I'm watching it as it was meant to be seen, in order. And holy cow, I love this. I haven't gone back in a while. I don't think I've ever watched these episodes since they aired.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I remember it kept getting canceled, and then they saved it a few times, and then finally they stopped trying to save it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the movie came, and I watched the movie on VHS after, and I was dating a girl at the time, and the movie came out. It was either that or Robert Redford's Sneakers. And that relationship ended, and I was watching Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me a couple of years after the fact. I was watching it for the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just about the darkest, most disturbing nightmare thing I'd ever seen. I am so glad I did not take her to that. And we saw Sneakers, where that Robert Redford pulls one over on the RNC. That's how that went. So anyway, so anyway, all that to say, I'm really loving Twin Peaks, and when Criterion Firewalk with Me shows up, I'll hope to add that to the collection, and then we can watch that.
Okay.
And I hope then they come out with the discs of the new one, because I don't know how else I'm going to see it unless it winds up on Netflix. I don't know.
Isn't it already on Netflix? Sorry.
No, the new one is not. The new one is still showing on Showtime.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know if Showtime content goes to Netflix or not. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe some of it might.
It does tend to go to disc though, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So yeah, then I can get caught up with the summer of 2017.
Yeah.
And with the new one, we are almost done, right? I mean, that's winding down. Am I right?
Yeah, we have just a couple more episodes left.
And are you still into it, Mike?
No, I'm still enjoying it. Yes, I mean, it sort of hit its peak so far. Episode 8 is the one that everyone talks about.
Well, maybe there will be a Twin Peak.
Yeah, maybe there will be. Yes. So I'm just finally glad that it looks like Dale Cooper may be coming back. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So well, that's the thing is it's like, what is the opposite of fan service? Because that's what Twin Peaks has been doing. It's like, everything people wanted to see, David was just like, no, I'm not giving you that. It's like, instead of your favorite character, Dale Cooper, coming back, no, Dale Cooper's been, replaced by Dougie Jones. He's a gibbering idiot.
No.
Not Doug Jones, the actor who's from all the Guillermo del Toro movies.
No. This is Dougie.
Dougie Jones. Let me just ask you a quick question before we go about the new Twin Peaks. I heard somebody mention this on a different podcast, that David Lynch, several of the actors from the original series have passed away and aren't able, of course, then to be in the new one. There's one who hasn't died, but Lynch has a spat with. So that actor is not on it either. And Lynch apparently brought the character in as a tree.
That is correct.
Now who is that?
That is Michael J. Anderson.
No relation?
No relation. No,
not even two selves.
No, he's one of the. I of course know all the Michael Andersons in the film business because
there's a cabal.
It's a brotherhood. So. So there's Michael J. Anderson, who played the man from another place in the original Twin Peaks, and there was Michael Anderson, who directed Logan's Run, and Michael Anderson Jr., who is the son of the Michael Anderson who directed Logan's Run, and who was also in Logan's Run at some point. So I'm sure there are others of us out there somewhere, but yes, Michael J. Anderson had a spat with David Lynch. Said that the Twin Peaks is autobiographical, that he killed people, and David Lynch, not surprisingly, said, "You're no longer in this." So,
wow. Okay. See, when he was probably, talking junk about David Lynch, he probably had no idea that there was going to be this comeback opportunity.
Yes.
2017. So now, what can you do? He's a tree.
It's a tree now, and David Bowie's been replaced by a tea kettle.
Well, that stands to reason.
Yes.
I don't know that The Man from Another Place, if he's been in the ones I've watched. I'm only to 4 episodes in of 30.
Cool.
and some say that I should watch just the first season and then jump to the series finale.
No, I know you have to. You should at least go until the killer is unmasked and caught.
And that's in season 2.
That's in season 2.
Which I did see that episode for real back in the day. That's one that I did stumble onto.
Mm-hmm. So yes, once you get to the killer, the unmasking episode where we find out who the killer is, that's just amazing. That's one of the best episodes of television ever. And then once he's caught, then you can probably skip to the finale.
Okay. Don't skip any Twin Peaks episodes.
Well, David Lynch went off to make Wild at Heart, and he was away apparently, and then the series just kind of, did what TV series tended to do back then, especially.
Yes. No, it's there's a whole stretch in there where James Hurley is just roaming the earth. It's like he's roaming the earth. He has his own adventure with a wealthy heiress or something. And
yeah, well, we'll see. Well, folks,
not the greatest episode of television ever.
Yeah. Is it like the second season of Heroes, where the character hero is back in time for like 8 episodes, and it's torture? Is it that?
Not quite that bad. But,
that's a series killer right there. Okay. Well, folks, we're going to end the show talking Twin Peaks and some random horror that we've gotten into lately. And thanks for coming, Mike Anderson. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on Twitter. I'm at AutoBeatnik. And other places as well. So.
And Laura?
I have some random humorous pictures on Instagram at Laura Flora Lady.
That sounds fantastic. Laura Flora Lady, random funny pictures.
Laura Flora, as in Flora. Laura Flora.
Very good. And of course, I'm at ZekeFilm.org and on Facebook. Very active on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I don't know how to use it very well. And I just joined Letterboxd, the film app.
I should say I'm also on Instagram, also at AutoBeatnik, AutoBeatnik.
Excellent. All right. Well, there you go, everybody. You subscribe to ZekeTalk, our feed, which is our Zeke Film YouTube feed. You have to subscribe to Zeke Film YouTube, and you will get these episodes notifications. I believe you would get notifications every time we do one of these, which is most of the time weekly, and every now and then we throw something else in. So be on the lookout. And thanks for tuning in, and thanks for going to our website and reading all our fantastic content. And thank you, Laura, for being with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me. And
Mike, thank you again.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Honestly, I can't do it here. I'm you're the man. I'm not the man.
Who might argue?
I am not the man. You're the man. Down with the man. Okay. Everyone, next week then we'll do another show, and it'll still be August. That's what.
Okay.
All right.
That's what I hear.
Okay. Goodbye.
Happy trails. Bye. Bye.